Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We're live in Abuja, the nation's capital. Here are the headlines. Another military takeover in Africa's political scene as Gabon becomes the latest country to experience a coup.
As of today, there is no more water spill from Cameroon. Is normal environmental flow that maintains as usual.
Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency says no threat from Lakdo Dam. FCT minister puts to rest issue of compensation and relocation of natives affected by planned construction of second runway. We begin from the foreign scene, where we will inform you that military officers in Gabon have announced cancellation of elections, dissolved institutions, and say they have taken power. Let's join Abdul Salam Jibril for details.
Et garant de la protection des institutions.
Members of the Gabonese army have announced that they have put an end to Ali Bongo's regime as they spoke on national television. The soldiers introduced themselves as members of the Committee of Transition and Restoration of Institutions, CTRI. In the broadcast, they stated, "Today, our country is going through a grave political crisis. We have observed an irresponsible, unforeseeable governance that has resulted in the steady degradation of social cohesion, which risks leading the country to chaos. We have decided to defend peace by putting an end to the regime in power." The soldiers have also announced the closure of borders until further notice. They also urge foreign nationals that reside in Gabon, as well as the Gabonese diaspora, to remain calm. Recall that Gabon's government announced a nationwide curfew and cut off internet access on Saturday evening as voting in major national elections was wrapping up. The announcement came after voters cast ballots on that same day to elect new local leaders, national legislators, and Gabon's next president. The Electoral Commission had announced that President Ali Bongo, who was running for a third term, had won just under 2/3 of the votes in an election the opposition argued was fraudulent. His overthrow would end his family's 53-year hold on power in Gabon. Ali Bongo came to power when his father Omar Bongo died in 2009. In 2018, he suffered a stroke which sidelined him for almost a year and led to calls for him to step aside.
And to give more insight on the coup in Gabon is the public affairs analyst Jide Ojo. You're welcome to the News at 10.
My pleasure. Good morning, Nigerians.
Now, the boys from the Barrack are at it again, this time in Gabon. Should this be a cause for alarm for the AU, the African Union?
Of course, it is a cause for alarm, but it's also a wake-up call, not just a cause for alarm. It's a wake-up call that when the democratic institutions fail to do the needful, we are cutting military intervention. This coup is on at the heels of a disputed election that was held last weekend, August 26, which gave victory to the incumbent president. And you realize that this man is seeking a third term in office. The Bongo family have turned Gabon into a monarchy. From independence to date, the father ruled for many years, the son took over. Is it I mean, you find that, and then if all of this, we know in Saudi Arabia there is a monarchy, so King of Saudi Arabia, huh? But that one, there is no pretense. But in a situation where it's only one family that is producing the president, and this man has health issue, as said in that background, for a year he had a stroke, he still kept himself in power, he still altered the constitution to stay put in the saddle. Then you ask yourself, what manner of democracy is Africa running? Because that's the crux of the issue. One, we keep having disputed election. Two, we are having economic recession. The family has not bettered the life of average Gabonese. So much so that everybody, there is high rate of corruption, high rate of unemployment, high rate of poverty. And so what benefit has democracy been to Gabon? And it is also instructive that many of the countries that we have seen where there is a military takeover are Francophone countries, former colonies of France in Africa. And that should also be very worrying, because when you put the entire 54 African countries together, France has more countries as its colonies than the British. For instance, in the entire 15 West African states, there are only 4 Anglophone countries: Nigeria, Gabon, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. All the others are Francophone or Portuguese colonized. So it's a cause for concern that France also have to re-examine its role in Africa and try to see whether it could amend relationship.
I know the family has been there. He's the second president Gabon has had.
Yeah, since independence.
Yes. So, but is that a justification for a coup?
It's not a justification. What I'm saying is that, one, was there due process in the conduct of that election? The opposition said they were rigged out. That's the premise of a disputed election. And I've also told you about economic recession. I've told you about high rate of unemployment. I've told you about high rate of corruption. I've told you that this man altered the constitution to keep himself in power.
Yes, he said so.
See, let's respect. There's something called rule of law. What is rule of law? Rule of law it has 3 pillars: supremacy of the law, equality before the law, and fundamental human rights. All of this under Gabon has been under threat. There is no supremacy of the law. I mean, one individual altered the constitution to keep himself in power. And that's what this Senegalese president, Macky Sall, also tried to do before he backtracked at the last minute. Silencing opposition, there is gross abuse of human rights, abuse of office, high rate of corruption, high rate of enemy. So these are the variables, these are the factors that fertilized this military takeover of government.
Yes, and just before I let you go, just about 30 seconds, ECOWAS is dealing with Niger, the issue in Niger, as well as other countries, Mali and Burkina Faso and the rest of them. What's the way forward to end these coups? Very briefly, please.
Good governance. There's no two ways to it. Let's have good governance. Let's follow due process. Let's ensure that they work. Political office holders, politicians, politically exposed persons, let them work in the interest of the people.
Right.
When people are disenchanted, they will support a military takeover. You can see from footages we have seen now, Gabonese are waking up to this news and they are happy that at least they have seen an end of an era. So it is for African leaders and world leaders to rule by fear of God and to rule for the benefits of their people. Good governance is the only antidote that you can use to stop military takeovers.
Thank you very much, Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Right, we've been talking about the coup, the latest coup in Gabon. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu is still receiving commendations for his policy decisions on the country's economy so far. An economist and revered entrepreneur in the banking sector, Tony Elumelu, who visited President Tinubu at the State House, acknowledges that the Nigerian leader has taken good decisions in the interest of the country. He implores Nigerians to be patient with the president to see the benefits yet to come out of the decisions.
The private sector is encouraged with the bold decisions President Bola Tinubu has taken, and we hope that in the fullness of time, Nigerians will benefit from it, because it's all about Nigerian people. It's all about youth. It's all about making sure our women are involved and empowered. It's all about making sure our youth get jobs, and I think Mr. President has this at the back of his mind, and I believe, as a private sector person, that the actions and decisions the president is taking now, in the long run, will help our people. But a bit of patience, you know. Rome was not built in a day. One day, right?
Okay. Thank you very much.
In an effort to ensure food security in the country, the federal government is expected to receive 33,000 metric tons of potash donated by Russia's Uralchem Group and UN partners. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this at a meeting with Fertilizer Producers and Suppliers Association of Nigeria, expressing the Tinubu administration's commitment towards reducing the cost of fertilizer for Nigerian farmers. Vice President Shettima said the declaration of state of emergency in food security sector in July this year is part of the agenda of ensuring food sufficiency in the country. He charged the stakeholders to ensure transparency, equity and fairness in the distribution of the potash to the end beneficiaries. The donation is part of the gains of the Russia-Africa Summit held in St. Petersburg, Russia this July, where the federal government's delegation met with the leadership of Uralchem Group and World Food Programme over the donation of a consignment of 33,000 metric tons of potash to Nigeria. More palliatives will soon be made available to cushion the effects of the current economic realities. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris Malagi, while playing host to the Niger State Governor, Mohammed Umar Bagu, reassured Nigerians that the 8-point agenda was carefully selected as focal points for immediate intervention. Saliu Guanara reports.
The two Nigerites are saddled with critical assignments. The host as the custodian and driver of the renewed hope agenda, while the visitor is the helmsman of the power state. The visit provided an opportunity for them to roll out plans on how to fast-track the implementation of the already identified 8 priority areas.
Assorted grains have been sent to states, and we know that each state of Nigeria has received the sum of 5 billion naira in the first instance. And the FCT also got about 2 billion in the first instance. Now, Mr. President is aware that that is not enough, but is only the first necessary step that he has to take to ensure that this hardship occasioned by the fuel subsidy removal will be cushioned. Your Excellency, Mr. President has asked us to tell Nigerians that more are coming in their way. He's working day and night tirelessly together with his Council of Advisory Bodies, the ministers, to ensure that every hardship that Nigerians are facing today will be turned around within the shortest possible time.
We have a lot of potentials for agriculture, and we can feed the world. So one of the key cardinal points of Mr. President's agenda is food security and social security. These two things are very, very available in Niger State.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation promised a leading role to make sure that Nigerians understand the vision and mission of the government. In Abuja, Saliu Guanara, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 here on NTA News 24. More reports in just a moment. Just stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has applauded Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, for her intervention in providing empowerment to women and other vulnerable groups in the society through her pet project, Renewed Hope Initiative. He said this while speaking to State House correspondents after a courtesy call on the First Lady at the Villa, noting her recent interventions in the education sector, where a national scholarship program was flagged off in agriculture and social investment. The governor said such efforts will serve to reassure Nigerians.
Running a complementary role to what Mr. President is also doing, and I think it's great. You know, our own idea is not necessarily to begin to build brick and mortar, is really to be able to intervene, you know, in schools, you know, for people needing scholarship, in farming, you know, people needing implements, you know, seedlings, and also to be able to provide immediate succor, you know, for families and for people that that are vulnerable in the society, that the initiative can indeed target it, and I think it's beautiful.
A frontline All Progressives Congress support group, Project 2023 and Beyond, has lauded economic policies rolled out by President Bola Tinubu under the Renewed Hope agenda. The group commended Tinubu's presidency for some of the bold steps to recover lost hours and insist it is the best way to go in order to put the economy in the right trajectory. Project 2023 and Beyond was strategic in the making of the Tinubu's presidency and wants its arrowhead, Shola Olufin, to be considered for the office of the Youth and Sports Minister.
Soliciting Mr. President and the leadership of our party, the APC, to please hearken to the wishes of the Nigerian youth by appointing Honorable Shola Olufin to lead the Youth Ministry as Honorable Minister of Youth Affairs.
The group says it will continue to pledge its total support and commitment to the success of APC at the center and sub-national levels beyond 2023. Bama local government area of Borno State, one of the worst affected by the insurgency, has been selected as first council area in the northeast to benefit from implementation of the United Nations Peace Building Fund project, PBF. The project, funded by the United Nations using the Borno State rebuilding model, was unveiled in Maiduguri with Borno State Governor, UN project representatives, and the Bama community in attendance. Mohamed Goni reports.
The United Nations Peace Building Fund, established in 2006, is the only UN Secretary General's resource for sustainable peace and development in selected areas affected by conflict globally. The UN project, unveiling first of its kind in the Northeast, was a thing of joy to the paramount ruler and people of Bama community, once occupied and destroyed before it was liberated by security forces. Representative of the Borno State government, Deputy Governor Umar Usman Kadafur, highlighted the need to address the root causes of the insurgency and resettlement drive of the state government through Borno model and UN peace building.
Borno model is aligned with the United Nations frameworks on the treatment of or handling of persons exiting terrorists or armed groups designated by the UN as terrorist organizations.
Shehu Obama, Umar Ibn Kari Ibrahim El-Kanimi, appreciated Borno State government for its efforts in rebuilding Bama, adding that the town is now feeling the impact of UN activities. Representative of the United Nations, Monsef Kartas, highlighted what it aims to achieve in the Peace Building Fund project.
It is the first joint UN project of the PBF directly targeted at the implementation of the Borno model.
According to the Commissioner for Women Affairs, Zuwaira Gambo, the UN Peace Building Fund project will complement efforts of the Borno State government in the reconstruction and resettlement program. The United Nations Peace Building Fund is active in 25 countries with 120 projects positively impacting on the lives of communities' recovery from conflict. In Maiduguri, Mohamed Goni, NTA News.
Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NISA, says it has received confirmation from Cameroonian authorities that as at Monday, 28 August 2023, the spilling water from Lagdo Dam has been stopped, but wants governments at all levels to adhere strictly to recommendations in the 2023 annual flood outlook. NISA's Director General, Clement Nze, speaking at a media engagement in Abuja, says the situation on water release from Lagdo Dam is under control as Nigeria is closely monitoring the development.
So as of today, there is no more water spill from Cameroon. Is normal environmental flow that maintaining as usual downstream there. But up to time, whenever there is any atom of flooding in Taraba or in Adamawa, the answer is Cameroon has opened a dam. Yes, they opened their dam, but we have several rivers inside Nigeria that are pouring water into the Benue. Also in Cameroon that are downstream the Lagdo Dam. That even if they don't need to open their dam, those rivers in Cameroon downstream the Lagdo Dam and also in Nigeria that are releasing water into the Benue River channel have been causing a lot of flood within that flank.
While affirming that local rainfall is responsible for the flooding in parts of the country, Clement Nze said the immediate need for key players in national flood response and control is to deploy appropriate measures and strengthen preparedness to minimize the impact of potential flooding even during the peak of the rainy season.
Generally speaking, there is no cause for alarm as of today, but we are following the development. The flood incidents we have already had within Nigeria were caused by flash flood.
178 local government areas across 32 states and the FCT have been predicted to be prone to flooding this year in the 2023 annual flood outlook, with recommendations on mitigating devastating effects. Meanwhile, states in close proximity to the impact of flood along Cameroon's Lagdo Dam spillway have been alerted on the possibility of floods, though all has been done to avert any disaster. Guests on Nigeria Today, who are experts in water resources and emergency management, expressed concern over an uncompleted backup dam designed to control the volume of excess water from the primary dam.
It was a joint study of the river Benue, and we were also supposed to build our own dam of a bigger capacity, about 16 billion cubic meters capacity at a place about 30 kilometers north of Yola called Dasin Hausa. We're supposed to have our own dam there. If that dam was there, it will collect all the spills from Lagdo Dam effectively. So even if we're going to have destruction, it will come from internal water bodies.
For us in NEMA, the DG has activated all the NEMA zonal offices, not only the ones that cover the Benue floodplain area, but all the NEMA outstation offices have been activated to commence and strengthen the advocacy that began since our flood mitigation programs started.
The guests advocated more river training works on all channels to checkmate the disaster of floods on people. Nigeria Today airs weekdays on NTA News 24 at 7:30 p.m. Nigeria Customs Service pledges to enhance trade facilitation, though through partnership with the Nigerian Ports Authority. Let's join Kunle Adeyeye for details on business news.
The Acting Comptroller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi, has expressed commitment to enhance the output of designated export processing terminals in Nigeria. He disclosed these in a meeting with the Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Muhammad Bello Koko, in Abuja. While speaking about the recent developments at Lily Pond, the customs boss told Mr. Koko that the two organizations need to synergize and streamline the operations of seaports in the country. He said forming a joint team that will engage other government agencies to refine the activities of exporting goods through the installation of trackers to avoid delays in the diversion of goods is a task that must be achieved. The Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Muhammad Bello Koko, craved for customs support to upgrade facilities at the Ikorodu lighter terminal to decongest Lagos ports, saying the facility will attract higher patronage once Lagos ports are decongested. And quickly to the details of Tuesday's tradings on the floor of the exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Nigeria is insisting on its capacity as one of the leading nations providing capital for startups with potential to create homegrown solutions for Nigeria's prosperity. Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, gave assurances at an engagement with major players in the technology industry. He said he is prioritizing training of technical talents and connecting Nigerian tech diasporans for knowledge transfer to actualize President Bola Tinubu's mandate of Nigeria having 1 million technical talents in the shortest possible time.
We've got access to about $500 million to start a local fund in Nigeria. And part of my responsibility is working with BOI to ensure that we actually domicile that funding locally in Nigeria, work with funds who manage and invest in businesses to ensure that those businesses that will benefit are true, real Nigerian businesses.
There will be lots more time for us to support you and work with you. And I hope we can do this as a true private and public partnership.
Still watching the News at 10 on NTA News 24. Let's pause for a break now. Please stay with us.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app.